let's continue our 2026 positional rankings today with small forwards. Now, just remember going into these player rankings, this is me predicting next year's season, not how I would rank them today. It's who I want for next year, taking into account their position, their age, where I think they're going, can they show up in the playoffs, and this is a loaded position as well. So here are some players that are going to be listed in the power forward video that you thought could have been here today, so that's why you aren't going to see them. First one is LeBron James of the LA Lakers. Next up, you have Paul George of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's kind of been a power forward for the last few years. I have both Tumani Kamara and Jeremy Grant of the Portland Trailblazers. And lastly, Larry Markkinen of the Utah Jazz. My honorable mentions are Kyle Kuzma of the Milwaukee Bucks, G.G. Jackson of the Memphis Grizzlies, Kevin Huerter of the Chicago Bulls, Sam Hauser of the Boston Celtics, Max Christie of the Dallas Mavericks, Bruce Brown of the Denver Nuggets, Ron Holland of the Detroit Pistons, Keldon Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs, and Dorian Finney-Smith of the Houston Rockets. It's kind of a loaded position right now. So many talented honorable mentions that just missed the cut, but I'd be fine if you had them anywhere between 25 to 30. So because he's still 23 years old and he's been getting better year by year, I have Moses Moody coming in at number 30. Yes, I have Moses Moody as a top 30 small forward in the NBA right now. Last year, Moody averaged a career high 9.8 points for the Golden State Warriors, and he shot 37% from three, as well as 80% from the free throw line. He gives you around 2.5 rebounds a night and can play serviceable defense on that end of the floor. I just think 23 years old with the Warriors having some turnover, but he's just kind of been a mainstay there. Potentially, Jonathan Kuminga is no longer going to be in Golden State, where Moses Moody could take a leap next season. Do I think Dorian Finney-Smith and Keldon Johnson were better than Moses Moody last year? Yes, but this is me projecting the 2026 season, and I think Moody, who's a great player at the Chase Center, he shot 37% from three pre and post All-Star break, can just be a serviceable 3-and-D option around their aging big three of Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler. So coming in at number 29, I think a very underrated player that showcased he was one of the more underrated pickups of the 2024 free agency class, Najee Marshall of the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, we're going to mention a couple Dallas Mavericks today. I had Max Christie in the honorable mentions, Najee right here, and we have somebody that could end up in the top 10, top 15. We'll see in a little bit, but Najee Marshall comes in at number 29, somebody that was just a good all-around player for the Mavericks last year, played 69 games, averaged around 28 minutes, and is a great player around the rim, 51% from the field, and he shot 61% on twos, but throughout most of his career, Najee's been a little bit inconsistent from downtown. He shot 38% from three with the Pelicans 2 years ago, but last year shot 27% from three with the Dallas Mavericks, but he averaged a career high 13 points, it gives you 5 rebounds, 3 assists, can play good defense, gets to the free throw line more than somebody like Moses Moody, and I think is just one of the more underrated players in the NBA, and I'm excited to watch him with guys like Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and somebody we'll get to in a little bit this year. Coming in at number 28, I have Bryce Sensabaugh of the Utah Jazz. I am fully on board the year 3 breakout for Bryce Sensabaugh, who was injured going into his rookie year back in 2024 out of Ohio State. That's why he fell to the end of the first round. He went 28th overall. He was up and down throughout the G League and shot sub 40% from the field and sub 30% from three. But this past season, Sensabaugh averaged 11 points, shot 89% from the free throw line, 42% from three, looked way more comfortable in the half court, getting to his spots. The release looked smooth, and the shot diet was on point as well. He had a great second half. He was fantastic in February, fantastic in March, and he was really good in the Summer League as well in the pre-Vegas games where he showcased that he could really be an elite three-point shooter for the Jazz going forward. Because when you're talking about all these Jazz players, I think he's a top 3 most intriguing young piece they have going forward. I would take Walker Kessler ahead of him, and also my number 27 small forward next year, who's going to be Ace Bailey of the Utah Jazz. Yeah, I'm taking the 19-year-old to have a big and productive enough rookie season. I think he's going to be efficient within the half court. I think he's going to get to the spots he wants. There's going to be some ups and downs, and maybe I'm a little too high on Ace. Like, you could take the floor of Najee Marshall next year, but I do think Ace has really good upside in year number 1 with the Utah Jazz, a team that can allow him to get to the spots he wants. They don't have to throw him out there into the fire. Larry Markkinen's going to get a lot of shots, but there's also going to be floor spaces around Ace Bailey and Keontae George and rookie Walter Clayton Jr. and Bryce Sensabaugh and Kyle Filipowski, and I think that's going to have Ace limit the mistakes in his rookie season. I could look like an absolute fool at the end of the year, where a bunch of my honorable mentions could be a better player in just 2026 than Ace Bailey, but I'm high on Ace in Utah. I love the fit. I love the direction they're going in, and I think Ace can have a productive year number 1 as a 19-year-old. Coming in at number 26 is still a very young player in this league. He was a top 10 pick back in the 2023 draft. I have Bilal Coulibaly of the Washington Wizards. Man, Bilal Coulibaly's 2025 got off to such a good start in the months of October and November, where he was somebody that had a 72% true shooting percentage in October, a 52% true shooting percentage in November, which were the strides you want to see for somebody as young and raw as Bilal Coulibaly was coming out of France, who wasn't supposed to be a top 10 pick in the 2023 draft, and then it crumbled down a little bit. He had a sub 50% true shooting in December and January, shot around 37% from the field, 23% from three, and kind of looked lost at times defensively, which can be a calling card for Bilal. But I think Bilal is going to put it all together this year. I think he could parlay that first good month and a half with the whole season, and just the experience, the reps, and the opportunities with a good veteran core around him now can do wonders for his development going forward, because there's been a lot of volatility in Washington, not the greatest support staff, but I do think it's finally getting around him in DC, and we could see somewhat of a year 3 breakout for Bilal. But one spot ahead of Bilal Coulibaly, I have his teammate Chris Middleton. Now, I have no idea if Chris Middleton is going to end the 2026 season with the Washington Wizards. I'm going to assume not, where he can actually still be a contributor on a playoff team. And I still think Middleton has a little bit left in the tank. Now, I know the last 3 years have been decimated by injuries. He was a good player in 2024, but it feels like he wasn't fully healthy for the playoffs. He was banged up a ton in 2023. And last year actually got off to a solid start for Milwaukee. I know he didn't look like the Chris Middleton of old, but he was at least efficient. I still can't believe they traded away AJ Johnson and an unprotected pick swap for Kyle Kuzma, but it is what it is. I think Middleton can be a productive enough veteran in the first half and lead the way for their young wings like Bilal, Trey Johnson, and Keyshawn George going forward, and then is eventually either going to get traded, but more likely bought out from the Washington Wizards at the deadline. He's still a crafty shot creator. I think if he's healthy this year, he could be a serviceable enough defender, and it may be the last good year of Middleton's career, but I believe he could be a top 25 small forward just one more time in his career. Coming in at number 24, I have the number 1 overall pick from the 2024 draft, Zachary Risache. Now, I don't think Zachary Risache is going to be the best small forward in Atlanta. I have one of his teammates later on, but I think Risache is going to take strides in year number 2 after a very encouraging first year as a 19-year-old last year with the Atlanta Hawks. Somebody coming from Jailberg overseas that had high expectations of being the number 1 overall pick, but also the disrespect of not being talked about a lot. People talked about how that was a down draft, and I think Risache proved his doubters wrong. He shot 46 from the field, 36 from 3. He had some extreme, in a good way, scoring outings last year for the Atlanta Hawks. There was one game against the Brooklyn Nets where he took barely any dribbles and had 38 points, or a game against the Milwaukee Bucks where he had 36, or against the Knicks where he had 33. He was electric sometimes as a three-point shooter and showcased that he could be a perfect fit around Trae Young in this Atlanta Hawks half-court offense. He's also 6'8" and still extremely skinny for his size, but he's going to get stronger and stronger with the Atlanta Hawks strength and conditioning team, where he could be a good enough 3-and-D player this year. This could be low. I have him here at 24, but I think he has the ceiling to maybe even be a top 15 small forward this year. It's just the Hawks have a deep team, and this is somewhat of a deep positional group right now. Well, funny enough, one spot ahead of him, I actually have his teammate, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I thought he was a couple spots higher, but no, I have him here at 23. Noah's still an elite perimeter player. He was a great bench player and a good scorer for the Minnesota Timberwolves last year. Just averaged right under 10 points per game for the Timberwolves last year. Got some 6 Man of the Year votes and shot 38% from 3. And I enjoyed watching Nah and Jaden McDaniels just be kind of like their version of the Terror Twins on the perimeter, picking up guys throughout the full quarter right when they get across half court. That's not going to go anywhere in Atlanta. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going from one elite defender in Jaden McDaniels to another one in Dyson Daniels. And I do believe that Alexander-Walker is going to start over Zachary Risache at some point this year, or maybe he's going to play more minutes a night just because you can rely on the three-point shot maybe a little bit more, and you could definitely rely on the defense more at a consistent level down the stretch. And did you know that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin? I bet you didn't, right? Next up at 22, I have a new Phoenix Sun, Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks, I think, has also been somewhat of an underrated player over the last 2 years in Houston, because he's not a very well-liked player either in the NBA or to the media or fans because of his on-court antics, but he's just been a great 3-and-D option for the Houston Rockets, and I think it's going to have more of an opportunity in Phoenix next year. Last 2 years, he's averaged around 13.5 points for Houston. He's around 14 points for his career. He's around 38% from 3 over the last 2 years for Houston as well, and can be a top 10 defender in the sport. We saw him make all defensive second team in 2023. Now, he's maybe not as elite as he was then, but there are flashes of that on a given night where he could be as good of a defender as somebody like a Nickeil Alexander-Walker or some great defenders that we're going to get to throughout the top 20 of this list. But I think Dillon Brooks, like I said, is somewhat underrated. I'm buying some Dillon Brooks stock as he's going to be going into his 29-year-old season with a new environment in Phoenix. And we know that he could be somewhat of a floor raiser as well. So I expect Dillon Brooks to try to win games every single night for the Phoenix Suns. And that's exactly what they need, not having direct control of their draft capital this season. One spot ahead of Dillon Brooks, I have Bennedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers. Bennedict Mathurin has a very big year coming up in 2026. There's no Tyrese Halliburton. There's no Miles Turner. There is a direct path for Bennedict Mathurin to be the number 2 scorer on this team right after Pascal Siakam. And it's happening at a perfect time as well. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the 2026 season. Now we're seeing what's going on this offseason with guys like Cam Thomas, Quentin Grimes, Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe that's not the best thing in the world, but I do think there is a chance for Bennedict Mathurin to average close to 20 points per game on good efficiency this year. Last year, he averaged around 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 46% from the field, 34% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line. But last year, he showed flashes in the playoffs against the Cleveland Cavaliers, against the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals, even against the New York Knicks, but not as much in the conference finals. And I do feel like Bennedict Mathurin in his age 23 season, if he could just improve the decision-making a little bit more, because that's how he can optimize his individual role in the Indiana Pacers quick decision half-court offense, that could do wonders for his development, his efficiency, his shot selection next year, and can earn him a ton of money in the 2026 free agency period. Coming in at number 20 is a big breakout candidate that I have next year, Ausar Thompson of the Detroit Pistons. Going into year number 2, Ausar Thompson had the blood clot scare, so we didn't get that proper ramp up throughout summer league, preseason training camp going into his sophomore season. So they had to ease him back into things, and he only averaged around 22 minutes as a sophomore, but he was great in the second half. And it wasn't just Ausar Thompson that was great. It was Jalen Duren. It was Ron Holland. It was other guys in the Detroit Pistons system because of what Ausar Thompson could do as a help defender, as a stopper, as a point of attack defender. Pistons were a much better team in the second half when Ausar Thompson was on the floor. He could be your best defender out there, and he was also somewhat efficient as well. A 58% true shooting in the first half, a 56% true shooting in the second half. He knows he's a bad three-point shooter, so he's not going to take a ton. Only took 49 threes last year, knocked down 11 of them, but he could be an elite rebounder, an elite defender, an elite downhill attacker, and he's one of the best athletes in the NBA. It's him and his brother, Men Thompson, in my opinion, as the 2 best athletes in the NBA, and that's why I'm so excited about a healthy Ausar Thompson going into year number 3, and I think he could be a top 20 small forward next season. Coming in at number 19, I have Devin Vassell of the San Antonio Spurs. Maybe not a popular pick here. Maybe people are just getting tired of the Devin Vassell. Oh, he's going to break out this year, and this year, just wait. Now, he was really good in 2024 for the Spurs in Wemby's rookie year, but the numbers did go down a little bit in 2025. Wemby's numbers went up. They added De'Aaron Fox. They added Stephon Castle, and Vassell's scoring went down, his assist making went down, and his efficiency went down as well. But he was still a good three-point shooter, 37% from 3 on 6.5 attempts. I know there could be some inconsistencies at times or some lapses on the defensive end of the floor, but I think Devin Vassell is still a good ball player. He's going to be 25 years old at the start of the season. He's making roughly $27 million a year for the next 4 seasons. And I think he's going to showcase why they didn't want to trade him for Kevin Durant this offseason, why they still believe in him as a long-term asset in San Antonio, who could be a great spot-up three-point shooter, a great transition offensive player, and could just be an overall great complementary piece and a good 3-and-D asset for them going forward around Fox, Harper, Castle, and Wemby. Coming in one spot ahead of Devin Vassell, in my opinion, was a top 10 defender in the sport last year and is in a perfect defensive system for him to succeed, and that is Lu Dort, who was not just a top 10 defender, he was a top 5 defender, 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and he finished on all defensive first team. And Lu Dort is just kind of an elite three-point shooter now. Over the last 2 years for the Oklahoma City Thunder, he's taken around 5.5 threes a night. He's shooting 40% from 3, giving you about 10 points, 4 rebounds, plays insanely physical for some good and for some bad, but he's exactly who you want on one of the best defenses we have seen, at least in the 21st century. He also doesn't miss a lot of time as well over the last 3 years, 74 games, 79 games, 71 games, and he's throwing his body all over the floor on any given night. So you're just getting an elite 3-and-D guy that can play the 2, the 3, or the 4. I decided to put him as a small forward. You can let me know if you think he's more of a 2. Either way, I do believe that Lu Dort is a top 20 small forward in the NBA next season. Coming in at number 17, I have DeAndre Hunter of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, DeAndre Hunter, I think, is a perfect fit in Cleveland's offense and defensive schemes. This was a great pickup, them acquiring him from Atlanta last year. He was having a very good year with Atlanta, maybe the best first half of his career throughout 37 games. But then in the 27 game sample size, where you'd expect his numbers to drop off a ton, going from basically the number 2 scoring option after Trae Young in Atlanta to maybe the number 3 or number 4 scoring option in Cleveland, his numbers were still really good. Shot 43% from 3, 49% from the field, 14 points, 4 rebounds. He's got incredibly high basketball IQ. He does not turn the ball over. He does not get into foul trouble, and he's somebody that can guard multiple positions. Now, it is kind of sad that he got hurt in the playoffs, so we didn't get to see the Cavs at full strength in the 2025 playoffs, and that's why they got bounced in round number 2 in an upset against the Indiana Pacers. But he was really good against Miami in round number 1 and wasn't great in round number 2 against Indiana. I'm going to chalk that one up to injuries, and I do think DeAndre Hunter is going to be part of another 60-win Cleveland Cavaliers team this season. Polarizing player this offseason for maybe some more off-the-court stuff. Michael Porter Jr. is coming in at number 16 for the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, there's a chance Michael Porter Jr. can average 25 points per game next year for Brooklyn. I'm going to assume Cam Thomas is going to be back in Brooklyn. Either way, I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to get a career high in field goal attempts, which has roughly been about 13 and a half, which was last year for Denver. And now there's a chance for him to get 20 shots per game. And MPJ has just been flat out efficient. You may like him, you may not like him. Shot 50% from the field pretty much every year of his career. He shot around 40% from 3 in every healthy year of his career, and roughly 80% from the free throw line as well. He's a solid rebounder. We know he doesn't really pass the ball, although he did showcase a little bit more passing ability last year. I just think he's an elite shooter. He's 6'10". He could be a great 3 or stretch 4 in this league. I do believe he's going to play mostly the 3 in Brooklyn. And under Jordy Fernandez, he's going to get a lot of shots. Mr. Never Swing the Rock may actually get 20 field goal attempts per game. Who knows? Maybe he's going to be an intriguing trade asset in the 2026 offseason. Coming in at number 15, I have a boring pick here, but he's just Mr. Consistent, and that is DeMar DeRozan of the Sacramento Kings. DeMar DeRozan is going to be 36 years old throughout all of the 2026 season. The former 9th overall pick back in 2009 is still doing it at this age. He averaged 22 points for the Sacramento Kings after getting traded after the deadline. Now, he's not a ceiling raiser, but I still believe he's a high floor player where he's going to be efficient from mid-range and at the rim. He's going to take good shots. He's not going to be the best or the worst defender on the floor, but he can also get his teammates involved and get off and running as well. I'm excited. I know that may be an unpopular take to watch him and Zach LaVine in a full season together again, but this time in Sacramento. Last year, they kind of uprooted their team at the deadline and they ended up losing in the play-in tournament. But if they're healthy next year with Domantas Sabonis, who also missed some time last year, the Kings can be an exciting watch. They may not be a great team, but they can be an exciting team. And I think DeMar is going to have one last good year of his career. All right, so here is where I have the controversial one. I have an 18-year-old here at spot number 14. Yes, I have Cooper Flagg of the Dallas Mavericks as the 14th best small forward next year. And if I didn't think Cooper Flagg was going to be as elite of a defender that I think he'll be, he would not be this high. I think his offense is going to be good enough. He's going to be better offensively than guys like Lou Dort, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Bilal Coulibaly, guys we've talked about before. But I also think he's going to be up there defensively with guys like Dylan Brooks, Asar Thompson, and Lou Dort that we've talked about. I legitimately think Cooper Flagg could be a top 10 defending small forward next year because of the playmaking, the reactiveness, the point of attack, the post defense, what he could do as a shot blocker and getting passing lanes. I loved watching Cooper Flagg defensively at Duke, and I think he's going to be a great offensive player as well, working off of Anthony Davis, also working off Kyrie Irving when he returns at the start of next year's season. Coming in one spot ahead of Cooper Flagg is somebody going into year number 3. He was also a top 2 pick, and that is going to be Brandon Miller of the Charlotte Hornets. So if you watched any of my videos this offseason, you know that I'm super high on Brandon Miller going into year number 3. Somebody that was just kind of thrown into the fire last year for a Hornets team that was dysfunctional in his rookie year, but he still managed to finish 3rd in rookie of the year voting and had a great rookie season for a perimeter player. And then last year only played 27 games with a couple different injuries, and there was nobody else on the Hornets that could create their own shots. So Brandon Miller was forced to take so many bad shots, and he was still efficient. Still shot 36% from 3, 86% from the free throw line. He shot 40% from the field, but still had a 54% true shooting given how efficient he was on the perimeter. Now I'm hoping Brandon Miller could take a step at getting to the free throw line and finishing at the rim. Somebody shooting 47.5% on twos at his size is a little discouraging, but I'm just super high on Brandon Miller, putting it together here in year number 3. He's going to be healthy again. Hopefully he's going to have his point guard healthy again to run the show for him. Con Knipple is going to feed him the ball as well, and Brandon Miller could be a borderline top 10 small forward next season. And coming in at number 12 is the new Denver Nugget, Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson was traded for Michael Porter Jr., who we talked about back at spot number 16. I just think Cameron Johnson does all the things Michael Porter Jr. does well, but just a little bit better. Porter Jr. is probably a better rebounder because he's a little bit taller, a little bit more physical, but Cam Johnson, I think, has better basketball IQ, better decision making, and is just as good, maybe even better, as a three-point shooter. Last year, he shot 39% on threes on about 7 attempts a night, shot 47.5% from the field on 13 shots a night, and 80% from the free throw line. But something he didn't have that Michael Porter Jr. did, Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic finding Cam Johnson is going to be a match made in heaven for both parties. Cam Johnson is going to get some phenomenal looks in the corner, off the dribble, DHOs, and he may have the best year of his career with the Denver Nuggets. And there's a reason why they gave up a future unprotected first-round pick to get Cam Johnson this offseason for the upside he has playing with the Joker in Denver. Coming in one spot ahead of Cam Johnson, I have Trey Murphy of the New Orleans Pelicans, just missing out on the top 10. Murphy broke out last year after getting the contract extension going into year number 4, and he had a career year. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 45% from the field, 36% from 3, and 89% from the free throw line. And he's somebody that could take a leap next year as well, now that he's going to have Zion Williamson around him. Now, his numbers may not go up too much. Maybe they do, maybe they don't with Zion back. But Zion there, taking so much attention of the opposing team's defense, is going to allow for so many open looks for Trey Murphy, who didn't really get to play a lot with Zion Williamson last year. Now, Trey Murphy did suffer a torn labrum and a partial tear of the rotator cuff back in March, so hopefully that doesn't affect his shooting form or his consistency whatsoever in year number 5. Either way, though, I do think he's a good enough defender, good enough passer, an elite shot maker right now at 25 to be coming in at number 11, and he's going to have a big year yet again. But somebody I had very tough predicting what he's going to be next year, Brandon Ingram. He's going to come in at number 10. This may be too low. This may be too high. He's going to be in a completely different environment. No longer is he going to be the player he was in New Orleans. Maybe he's going to be somewhat similar, but it's not Zion Williamson with him out there. It's Scotty Barnes. It's not CJ McCollum. It's RJ Barrett. And there's going to be different types of schemes and sets that will be ran through Brandon Ingram next year. Now, he was playing very well. In the 18 games before he had the season-ending injury, he ended up averaging around 22 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5 assists on good efficiency. But over the last few years, Brandon Ingram has been a very good playmaker, passer, and overall scorer. Now, he had a down 2022, a good 2023, a down 2024 in some ways, and looked like he was playing a little bit better in 2025. I'm excited to watch Brandon Ingram next year. There's a reason why he got $40 million a year from the Toronto Raptors. He's going to be just turning 28 years old in September. And I think it could be a good year. I think people are out on Brandon Ingram. I don't think he's a perfect player. That's why I don't have him in the top 5. But having him at number 10 shows that I still have the respect and predict that he could be a good player next year, even after missing most of the 2025 season. And as good as Brandon Ingram is on offense, I believe Jaden McDaniels is just as good on defense. So he's coming in at number 9. Jaden McDaniels played all 82 games last year. There's still a ceiling right now on his offensive level, and that's why I couldn't put him a little bit higher. He averaged 12 points last year, shot 47% from the field, 33% from 3. But that's why I also like Jaden McDaniels, right? Like, he just plays 79 games in 2023, 72 games in 2024, all 82 in 2025. He's shown up in the playoffs. He's an all defensive caliber wing. I don't know how he wasn't on an all defensive team last year, and he's still 24 years old. And with Nickeil Alexander-Walker gone and in Atlanta, McDaniels may have to step up even more, and I believe he'll be the right man for the job in Minnesota. Maybe a hot take here coming in at number 8. I have Mikal Bridges of the New York Knicks, and I've raved about guys playing every single year. Now, Mikal Bridges has never missed a game in his NBA career. He's been eligible for 556 games, and he's played every single one. He even played 83 games in the 2023 season, and I'm always going to respect that and give that a little bit more of a bump. And he played 37 minutes a night last year. Last year was quote-unquote a down year for Mikal Bridges. Played 82 games, 37 minutes a night, shot 50% from the field, 35% from 3, averaged 17.5 points, 4 assists, and was one of the more efficient mid-range shooters in the NBA last year. Yeah, he did not look like an elite defender, but I thought there were strides towards the end of the year after getting completely thrown into a new team dynamic where he was the main point of attack guy with no anchor behind him. It was Karl Anthony Towns, who's not a good rim protector, but now he's going to have Mitchell Robinson back healthy, and when Mitch came back last year, Mikal Bridges looked so much better defensively, and he held his own in the playoffs as well, in a completely new environment with sky-high expectations in New York, especially after the Knicks gave up so many draft picks for him. I think Mikal is going to be a top 10 small forward in the league next year. And yes, I will have OG Anunoby in the power forward list as well. Coming in at number 7, though, a breakout guy for next year, Denny Avdia. The playmaking, the dribbling, the scoring, the transition, attack. I loved watching Denny Avdia last year for the Portland Trailblazers, who made them somewhat of a respectable team in 2025. The Blazers finished right around the Phoenix Suns. They just missed out on the play-in tournament. And if the Blazers make the play next year, it's because Denny fully broke out. And I believe that is possible. He can average 20 points per game with DeAndre Ayton no longer there and Anthony Simons in Boston. There's a clear runway for Denny to be the main guy offensively and have a career year. He was a good three-point shooter last year. He's got great court vision in the half court. He can get off and running. And this is somewhat of a bold prediction having him here at number 7, but you got to take swings here, and I think Denny could be a top 7 small forward. One spot ahead of Denny, he may be a little bit too low in your eyes. I have Jimmy Butler of the Golden State Warriors. I'm kind of sad that we may never see like 8-seeded Miami Heat in 2023 playoff Jimmy walk through that door again. I thought if we were ever going to see him come through that door again, it was in round number 2 last year when Steph Curry got hurt, and we needed to see Jimmy carry this Golden State Warriors team to the conference finals, and they lost in 5 games. Jimmy averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, but he shot 43% from the field, 30% from 3, 75% from the free throw line. He's still a good defender, not an elite defender anymore. And that's what Jimmy is. He's a good player in this league. This is pretty safe to have him here at number 6. It was a completely new environment for him in Golden State. And I know that Golden State was great last year after they got Jimmy. I think a lot of that was on Draymond and Steph. Some of it was on Jimmy, but he averaged around 18 points in Golden State and shot 47% from the field. He's a good small forward. I don't believe that he's a top 5 small forward in the league anymore. There's a chance that could happen this year, but he's going to be 36 years old. He got his last payday. I'm just not buying him as a top 5 small forward anymore. Coming in at number 5, Franz Wagner of the Orlando Magic. Like 2023 to 2024, I thought last year Franz improved every aspect of his game outside of the three-point shot. Shot 35% as a rookie from 3, 36% as a sophomore, but over the last 2 years, he shot sub 30% from 3. And that's not going to cut it. If Franz wants to become one of the 25 best players in the NBA, he needs to be a good three-point shooter on this volume. Shooting 29% from 3 on 6 attempts is turning your team into a fat negative on that end of the floor. Now, Franz was really good in every other aspect. He was good at the rim. He shot 54% on 2s, averaged 24 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, and was really good before that abdominal injury last year. He's turning 24 years old at the end of August. He's not even in his prime yet, and I do believe he could be an efficient 24 point per game scorer. That's going to get so many good looks yet again this year with Suggs back healthy, with Desmond Bane in the mix, and Paolo Banchero, who I think is going to take a massive leap this year, and all those factors should allow Franz Wagner, who's 6'10", who could handle the ball very well, to be a top 5 small forward in the league. Coming in at number 4, he just won an NBA title. Yeah, I have him this high. Jalen Williams of the OKC Thunder. Jalen Williams is going into year number 4, and he's somebody that's also been pretty available. 75 games as a rookie, 71 as a sophomore, 69 games last year, and he's just improved every single year. He's a good defender. He's an efficient three-point scorer. He's efficient at the rim. He has very good shot selection. He's a good rebounder. He's a good passer. He averaged 5 assists per game last year, and he was somebody that was also a top 15 player in the league because he was on All-NBA third team and a top 10 defender in the league as well, all defensive second team. We haven't talked about many guys, if any, in this ranking that made both an All-NBA and all defensive team last year, and 23-year-old Jalen Williams did just that. He's going to be 24 for most of next year's season. He was just a vital part of the Thunder's championship team, and what he did in game number 5 against Indiana in 35 minutes, he had 40 points, shooting 56% from the field, was incredible for somebody in his 3rd year in the NBA. So I don't really have any worries that Jalen Williams will not be a top 5 small forward next year. I have him in at number 4. But coming in at number 3, I have Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Yeah, number 1 option, Jaylen Brown. This is going to be the first time in Jaylen Brown's career he's going to be the guy here in Boston. He averaged 22 points last year. He was an all-star, but it did feel like it was a down year shooting the ball for Jalen Green. He shot 32% from 3, 46% from the field, 76% from the free throw line, gave you 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. I thought still looked fine defensively, but he was dealing with some injuries last year. But it's going to be a different beast as a number 1 option for a major market like the Boston Celtics. He's going to get the opposing team's defense number 1 defender on that end of the floor. And how is Jaylen Brown going to respond? He doesn't have Jason Tatum to delegate to. It's going to be Derek White and Peyton Pritchard in the mix. In the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Knicks, he shot 28% from 3. But I do think Jaylen Brown is going to be good but not great next year. But for his standards, it's still a top 3 small forward in the league. So coming in at number 2, I have Kawhi Leonard of the LA Clippers. Kawhi is going to be 34 years old next year and hopefully will be healthy at the start of the year because last year missed a ton of time. Yet again, only played 37 games, averaged 32 minutes, but still averaged 21.5 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and was still an elite 3-point shooter, 41% from three. I just hope we get one last elite year from Kawhi Leonard. So I'm trying to manifest that before it's all said and done for him. He was really good against the Nuggets in that 7-game series loss. Maybe you'd like for him to be a little bit better, but he still averaged 25 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and shot 54% from the field, 40% from three, and was a positive defender as well. Hopefully the knees hold up, and I believe if they can, Kawhi Leonard will be a top 2 small forward in the league and showcase that he could be the future Hall of Famer that he's going to be next year for the Clippers, who are trying to win a title before this aging roster retires. And coming in at number 1, I do believe he's going to be a small forward next year. He played a lot of small forward last year as well. Kevin Durant of the Houston Rockets. I believe it's going to be Şengün at the 5 and Jabari Smith Jr. at the 4. Therefore, KD will be the starting small forward, who's going to be 37 years old at the end of September. And he was still elite last year in 62 games. He averaged 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 53% from the field, 43% from three, and 84% from the free throw line. He is still one of the best scorers in the NBA. He can get to any shot he wants, any spot he wants on the floor, and will knock down anything handed in front of him. And I just think in Houston, where there's so many better complementary pieces around him than what he had in Phoenix on both ends of the floor, it's just going to make Kevin Durant have a seamless year number 18, will be a top 15 player in the league yet again, and will be the best small forward in the NBA, probably one last time, in my opinion. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, subscribe, because I'll be dropping the power forward, center, and then my top 50 rankings very soon. Like always, you can let me know what you agree with or disagree with down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.